Well, hi, everybody. It's another Conversations With, and I'm delighted to have with me my good friend and my pal, Richard Morco. And we're just looking forward to today for a multitude of reasons, none the least of which, here we go again. And I know you have been very, very outspoken about the war in Iraq that we got ourselves into
Yes.
20 years ago now.
Yep.
And we're still there, but that's neither here nor there. And then I wake up one morning about a week and a half ago, I guess now, and I find out that the United States had a drone that flew over and they tracked the Iraqi general Soleimani and killed him and blew him up. And I went, ouch, here we go again. And I mean, the Iraqis came back and threw some missiles, and then in the meantime, shot down a plane, which was a real tragedy.
It was very much a tragedy. And it would not have occurred if we had not killed this.
Oh, no. Oh, that's right.
So it's just...
I mean, Trudeau has basically said that.
Yes. And they're attacking Trudeau, but you can't argue it.
He's right.
Yeah.
If we hadn't done that, they wouldn't have fired missiles.
As I was mentioning before the show, as a Frenchman once said about a similar incident, it was worse than a crime. It was a blunder. We cannot win there. We are not winning there, but we're taking the gas. And we gave it away. I mean, Trump said, oh yeah, we're gonna seize your funds. If you tell us to leave, and the Iraqis are telling us to leave, we're gonna seize your funds at the Federal Reserve Bank. So it's always been about the oil. It was about the oil in the first Gulf War. It was about the oil in the second Gulf War. It's about the oil now.
Yeah, but we're at a point, Richard, where we, the United States of America, is now the #1 oil producer in the world.
That's not exactly. That's how you interpret it. Right now, the fracking is not profitable, so it's being stopped. So that's going to stop. Wow, it's just not profitable because if we have so much oil, the price goes down. Do you know how we can get the price up?
Don't have much oil.
Yeah, and Russia's back there watching. Go ahead, screw up in the Middle East, because you'll drive the price of our oil up, which is easier to get than the oil we're fracking.
Yeah.
So that people say that we're the biggest producer now, and that's a mantra. Ain't going to be for long.
No.
So it's about the oil, and it's always been about the oil. In 1953, why the Iranians don't love us? 1953, they had a democratic government. We got rid of it. The CIA. We got rid of Mossadegh, I think his name was.
Yeah.
And we installed the Shah.
Shah of Iran.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of in there, but he was powerless at the time.
Yeah.
We made sure he was our boy.
Yeah.
So we're not going to solve anything over there, but do we need the oil? That's the question. Is the oil, I mean, I know.
Well, now you got a situation today where Putin just got rid of the government of Russia. New bulletin. Putin now has dissolved the Russian government, and because he is going to put through some new reforms that will drastically limit the power of his predecessor, changing the rules. Then he got rid of Medvedev, who was the prime minister, and his government.
Well, he was the prime minister. Did he dissolve the Duma, or was it just
Russian
eradicated?
Government. Eradicated the Russian
He
government.
eradicated, or did he dissolve it?
Well, it's done. They're out.
Well, the Irish government's been dissolved, but they're going to hold elections.
Yeah.
Did just the other day.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you know that, well, okay.
But I mean, I'm just saying, to your point, I mean, Putin is just sitting back loving this. He's got his boy in the White House doing all these things.
You have no evidence of that.
Oh, yes, I do.
I'd like to hear it.
I was talking to Vladimir the other day. And so anyway, look at.
Well, Vladimir, this is Dick.
Yeah.
Come over. I have my secret decoder
What's
rig.
going on here?
Well, who do you think you are, Nancy Pelosi?
Well, no, all I'm
Hillary
going
Clinton.
All I'm going by is the president throwing our intelligent people under the bus, saying he believes Putin, and that he met with Putin, and Putin is very good and a good friend of his, and that we have the Russians hacking our elections, etc. So,
Tell me, Dick, did you change your vote because Putin, they made you change it?
no.
Do you remember in the when they indicted, which they've not had a trial or convicted, the 13 Russian
Yeah.
group, they indicted them, and Rosenstein said, let me emphasize, no votes were changed by anything that happened, any of these. You do realize nobody has been able
Well,
to connect it.
I understand that, and that's a general statement. We don't really know that no votes were changed. There might have been somebody who was going to vote one way who changed because of what he saw on the internet. Who knows? It doesn't even matter in a strange way. What I'm saying is that right now, this world is not a good place to live. Right now. We're not as safe as we've been. Who knows what the Iranians will do next? If you think it's all over but the cheering, that was what they did, they shot those rockets and blew up some houses on one of the bases where our people were after we knew they were going to do it, and they all went into bunkers,
Right.
and so nobody got killed. And we'll rebuild those places. We got plenty of money, so we'll fix those houses that they blew up in those places where they attacked. And then, while they were doing it, a plane flew by and they took him down too. Not once, but twice. Now they got a new film that shows they didn't hit it. They hit him, and the pilot tried to turn the plane back to land it. And they hit him again, and that was the end of it. And they denied it, finally admitted it when all the evidence was out. So there's a residual of our attack killing a general. And, and so here we go again, and now the Middle East is up in arms. We have a lot of our own allies, quote unquote, backing away a little bit. And so where are we? I mean, are we any better than we were because we killed that guy? Is the world
worse.
safer?
We're really worse off. Al Jazeera had a film of that base where the attack took place, and the American soldiers are we're talking about it and saying, this was really scary. They got us, the Iranians. Colonel Pat Lang, an intelligence expert, said that not one rocket from America, a defense of rocket or drone or anything, could intercept these people. They couldn't. They didn't even take off to intercept it. The Iranian missiles are that good. We should take that as a hint and say, do we want our
Well,
kids?
that's another thing. We have defenses that automatically blow those up before they get to us. And that
Yesterday's news.
we either didn't do them, or didn't set it up, or didn't use it, or it didn't work.
They don't exist. The defenses, the Patriot missile is old technology. The defenses that can take down what Iran has now don't exist. They're working with, the world is saying the U.S. is nuts. So China, Russia, Iran, and any other country, probably even Venezuela, probably Bolivia now, saying, look, the U.S. is nuts. They're just nuts. So we all have to kind of cooperate to watch out for the rogue state. Now, I'd like to be able to defend Trump. I'd like to be able to defend Trump. And when he said, I think we should get along with Russia, I know you hate that idea before the election, and whatever comes after.
I believe.
I'm making the point. When he said, whatever happens in Syria will be worse if Assad goes. I liked that. But the thing is, this is just too crazy. We've got to get out of there. And Obama, and I know you hate me bringing it up, and Bush, and whoever comes after, and Hillary
Clinton.
said, whoever it comes, unless they get out, we are on a disaster train.
Oh, I have been an advocate since I ran for president in 1976 of bringing all the troops home. What are we doing in somebody else's country? And when you, I never even realized the cost of that. It's in the trillions and trillions of dollars to keep our forces all around the world.
But is that real money? I mean, is it just printed up by the Federal Reserve and washed into the system somehow?
No, but then, Richard, I go back to this. And here we are spending all kinds of money. We get people in this country who haven't eaten today. We get kids in this country who haven't got a place to live. We get we got veterans who are sleeping under bridges in a cardboard box.
Yes.
Okay? And we got money for everything else, but we certainly can't take care of some of our own people.
And
that's troubling.
It is so imperative.
It's
it is
just
so imperative we bring them home and take care of our own.
Oh,
we
yeah.
may not be able to take care of our own, but the way things are now, how would we ever know?
No, we can't. And when you hear, I mean, I heard some numbers the other night that was shocking to me, that they were talking about Trump saying we're going to take, it's only 3,500. Well, that's 3,500 there. But then there's 10,000, Martha Raddatz, I think, did the report. Then there's 10,000 over here, and there's another 8,000 down the road. And then over in this country, we have 28,000. And then we have 14 ships out in the ocean, you know, and you say, what? We only got 3,500? I mean, look at Afghanistan. What have we proven? That we can just keep people there?
That's about it.
The only thing we can prove is we can keep 10,000 troops there.
That's it.
That's all we can prove. Mm-hmm. Nothing's changed. Nothing's better.
Well, actually, one thing has changed. The Taliban is winning.
Well, that's been going on for years. They haven't lost yet.
No, they're getting better at intelligence. They're better not in places they don't really have the government.
Well,
they really actually kind of control it.
You know, obviously, and they say it's Iran. I guess let's say I believe it, that Iran is funding all these things. But to your point, they're teaching these people, and they're making them better fighters. They're giving them better equipment. They're giving them better information, and they're supporting it. And if that's what the case is, good. Now we know it's them. But to my point is, and to your point, what are we doing there? If we get out of there and come home and defend ourselves on our own territory, then we're a lot better off than we are to have hundreds of thousands of our men and women in over 12 or 18 or 22 different countries.
Now,
and then Iraqi says, get out of here.
Yeah.
And we say, no, we're not going.
And we're taking your money. We'll go, but we'll take your money.
We'll shut you off.
Yeah, yeah. But you remember 9/11? How many people were involved in the thing? What was it, 19?
19.
So this says that was a police and intelligence failure.
Yeah.
And there was no reason to invade Afghanistan. I mean, okay, we wanted bin Laden, but we could have said, okay, let's secure our intel. Let's secure our policing.
Well, there was a guy on TV that he talked about bin Laden. There was a program on television, I think it was on ABC News, on killing this general and bin Laden. And they said, at the time they took bin Laden down, he didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
He was living in a compound.
Yeah.
He was an old man.
Yeah.
He had no control. He lived in a little place.
Yeah.
And his family was with him. And he was basically washed up.
Yeah.
And we took him down. Fine. It didn't hurt anything other than him. And so forth. This one was a different situation. You got an active general who is one of the highest ranking people.
And he was a brilliant general.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that special forces that he ran, and so forth, and so we did him in because he was a bad guy.
Well, isn't everybody who's
now if you talk to somebody, and I was talking to a friend, and I said, look, let me mention some names to you. General MacArthur, Eisenhower, George Patton, George Marshall, and I can name 7 or 8 more. Nimitz, etc. Go through a whole bunch of them. There are Germans who think they were bad guys. Okay?
Yeah.
There are countries who think all those guys were bad guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
So we had our own bad guys.
Well,
Now, they were heroes because they ended World War II, but there are people over there who think they were bad guys. You know.
yeah.
So I never forget my dad. When I had been gone, I was only a little kid. From the time I was 6 till 11, I didn't see my father. I could only talk to him once a week on the phone. And when he came back from his duty up in the North Atlantic Patrol, he didn't talk much about the war at all. And as we got older, I mean, I was 17 or 18, you know, I asked him some questions. And he sat down and he said, "Son, I was in both World Wars. I want to tell you a little story about World War I, and then I'm going to tell you my thoughts." And he told me this. He said he was in France as a kid, he was 18 years old, and he was marching through France with the Yankee division. And the Germans they've been pushing the Germans back. And we got to this town where the Germans had just left, turned around and ran because we were coming. And we were marching along. And he said, I happened to look down, and on the side of the road was a mother and a father who were dead. And there was a little kid, he says, maybe 2 or 3 years or 4 years old. We were marching, we couldn't stop. You wanted to, but you couldn't. And this little kid was standing there, and in French saying, Meme, Pepe, you know, talking. And he said, we had to keep going. And he says, I was marching, I had tears streaming down my face. This poor little kid. That's war. Because during war, the bulk of the people who were killed are innocent people.
Yes.
Had nothing to do with the war.
Yeah.
They're innocent people.
Right.
They go in there and clean up a town and burn it and blow it up, and they kill everybody in there. And he said, I'm going to tell you something. He says, I hope it never happens in your lifetime, son. But what America needs to wake up is to have a war in this country and then see what it's really like. And he says, if they did, we'd be out of every country in the world, and we'd be back home, and we'd be running the United States of America for the good of the people who live in it, and not worried about what they're doing in Russia or France or China or any place else. Now, that was 60, 70 years ago. And I always remember that story. And I told my own kids that story. And we got a taste of it with 9/11. A taste of it. And, but it goes away quick. We move on. And my father wasn't around for 9/11. But I often thought about that story and what he would have said about 9/11. But the point is that if you look at our history, we're always fighting with somebody.
That's and we lie about it.
Oh, we deny it.
We deny it. We had no reason to get into World War I.
No,
But we did.
we did.
We did. And if we hadn't got into World War I, Hitler would never have gotten to power. We screw up everything. We screw up everything. You're going to get mad about this, but do you think Japan really wanted to attack us? They were squeezed by us. I know nobody from my father's generation. When Roosevelt in 1940 came to Boston, and I've said it before, I've said it again, your boys will not be fighting in any foreign war. They all believed he was lying. When Pearl Harbor, they all believed they'd been lied to. Everybody from that generation. Vietnam, Tonkin Gulf. Tonkin Gulf. The first Gulf War, the incubators. Remember the incubators were stolen by, we had actually given him permission to go in. April Glaspie, the ambassador, said, you can go into Kuwait. But no, we lied about that. And then Gulf War II, weapons of mass destruction. Oh, come on. The lie. So, I mean, I'm not going to, I'll beat up
in
Trump
fact,
for his lies,
that
but
came on-
it's of a piece.
That came on. That was on. I watched the debate last night for a while, and that came up. How we've lied. You know, they were talking about foreign policy.
Yeah.
And they were saying, well, there's no question we lie about things. We don't tell the truth, and we deny we do all these things, and we got covert operations going everywhere. You know, and undermining everybody and everything, checking on everything, and so, I mean, when you think about it, they knew that he was going to land in an airplane. They knew that he was going to get off the plane and get into a motorcade. They knew he was in the third car of the motorcade, and they knew exactly where he was going. And they waited, and they had a drone, not a plane, a drone go over and blow him up, and got the right car at the right spot. Think about how we found all that out.
Well, he was on it was probably easy knowledge because he was on a diplomatic passport.
Yeah.
It stinks.
Oh, yeah.
It's sad.
Well, I mean, the word, and we don't know, we'll never know. The word that you get from some of the stories is that everybody was against it except Trump. And he said, do it.
Colonel Lang again said that he had been given a set of possible responses, and that was one of them. And Lang said that usually something like that wouldn't have been included. Supposedly, Rouhani had said something, or somebody in Iran had said something insulting about him, and he said, no, okay, go get him. You know, I would love to be able to defend the man. I can't. I mean, I don't like the people who are against him. I don't like the way this impeachment has been going because, you know, it's been contrived. I mean, they were not, the Russia thing, they weren't impeaching him with that. They gave him two things that had only happened a few months before. And
Well, let me ask
Pelosi,
you a
we've been doing
question.
this for 2 years. Oh, yeah? Well, why are you doing for the ones in 2 months?
Let me ask you a question. It's going to happen. They're going to go to the Senate's going to have a meeting about it. I didn't realize that the Chief Justice comes in and
He
handles.
presides.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's okay. My question is, now you got John Bolton who says, I'll testify. I'll tell you the story. But we don't want anybody to testify. That's McConnell's, no witnesses. How do you feel about that? Should they let someone like Bolton testify if he's got information that will help them?
Well, in the Clinton trial, I don't believe they had any testimony. They just had to, present it because they'd already investigated.
Clinton's not here now. We're
Yeah,
talking
I
about
know,
Trump.
but you have precedent. You have to go. You have to think about the precedent when you're doing something legal. That's basically what you do. You think about precedent.
But wouldn't you? Let me ask you this question then: if you were sitting in the Senate, okay, and you had to make a decision, wouldn't you want all the information that you could possibly get before you make your decision, or not?
Well, first, you have had a big investigation in the House, and they said they had the goods. Did they have the goods or not? If they didn't have the goods, well, they say we don't want what's his name, Nadelson, but you don't have to have Hunter Biden. Oh, I thought you want all the information. No, everybody only wants certain amounts of information. I would love every bit of real information, but that isn't what's being contrived here. Somebody wants to screw somebody. That's all that's going on.
Well, I'm not arguing that. There's no question they want Trump out, period.
Yeah, and they want
End
to
of the
contrive it. They don't want an honest trial.
Well, but that's not my point. My point is, I'm taking the position, I feel, that if I was sitting in the United States Senate and John Bolton is willing to testify, he ought to be able to testify. He may give me information firsthand, not hearsay, not a note that somebody wrote in a hotel, not a conversation somebody overheard, but an advisor to the President of the United States is going to come in and testify what he knows about that situation. And I would think that every senator would want that information.
I
Now-
would not want, I don't care if I was God Almighty, a senator, or the dog catcher. I would not trust the word of John Bolton on anything. He is one of the lowest snakes that American system has ever thrown up, and you know that. So why would you want to hear from him?
Well, because he was an advisor to the president.
Yeah, he's a liar. So why would you want to hear from somebody who can absolutely not be trusted?
Well, because I think that he's under oath and that he's going to testify as to what actually happened, because he was there on when the conversation was held.
So the only reason you can have testimony from him is
Well,
because
I'd like to get a lot of them. I'd like to get the Mulvaney.
you want Hunter Biden.
Sure.
They don't want Hunter Biden.
Well, I don't care about what they want. I'd get as much information as I could get.
How about the whistleblower that Schiff won't name?
I don't, well, as a whistleblower, he has to be, I believe, he has to be protected. Because if you don't protect him.
This is too important. This is impeachment. Come on. Now you're getting now.
No,
You listen to a liar like Bolton.
How would somebody ever whistleblow again if they can be exposed?
Well, actually,
What's the point?
We have beaten up and tried in whistleblowers. We right now have Snowden, who we will prosecute if he comes home. He was a whistleblower about far more important things. He should be brought home and immunized. So this guy, immunize him, but make him testify. And you have no defense about that.
Well, no, because there's a way to do it. You bring him in and let him sit behind a curtain.
No, immunize him.
You're
Immunize
going to
him.
give him a shot of what in his arm?
You know what immunize him means. You know what immunize. He will not be prosecuted. Other than he perjures himself, he will not be prosecuted.
Well, you can even do it better than that. You put him behind a curtain.
No.
Let him sit there.
No. Under the law, you have a right to confront your accuser.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
So,
I mean, I've had situations.
so the hell with the curtain. Come on, grow.
No, we have a law that protects whistleblowers.
The law does not protect that situation. And if you immunize, he has to.
Well, then fine, do it. You know,
No, you can't say, no, you say, we got to do it, we got to get all the information, and then I bring up a situation, whoa, come
well,
on.
no, I'm only saying, because if whistleblowers can be exposed, then you're never going to have whistleblowers.
If they can be exposed and prosecuted. But we have, this guy's a whistleblower. We have James, what was his name? Risen, I guess, that was prosecuted. We have Kiriakou, who was a whistleblower. We have several that have been prosecuted.
Fine, all right, sure, bring them in. Go ahead, and let's get all the information we can get. That's my position. Period.
Okay, then I will take that. That you agree that information about us.
Or else, how do you make a judgment other than a political decision? How do you make an honest judgment in a court
We know
and a
that
trial if you don't have all the information there's possibly to get?
we all know this is a scam. We really deep down all know that anybody else, if Hillary Clinton could have stole the crown jewels, she could have murdered the Pope.
Don't give
and
me
we
Hillary.
wouldn't care.
I don't
You
care
wouldn't
about
care.
Hillary Clinton.
Well, you wouldn't care. It's only
Hillary
Trump.
Clinton.
It's only Trump that we care about, because he is.
He's the president. Hillary's not the president.
If she were the president, you wouldn't care.
But she's not.
But you still have to
And
answer.
I don't.
Would you care? Okay, is it only Trump? Let me ask Dick Vaughn then. Is it only Trump?
What only Trump?
That you're if someone else.
I do not like President Trump. Your answer? All right.
My pacemaker, Drew, quick, get the medics here.
All right. I don't like the guy. I
know
don't think
that.
he's done a good job. I don't think he's helped this country. I think he's causing us a lot of problems that we don't need to be caused.
that were started by other people. I think he should end them by bringing everybody home. But I will not convict him for what we didn't convict him before.
What do you mean?
The other presidents did
Are you
this.
back to the other presidents
Yeah.
again?
You have to have a president. Is it wrong to do these things? And if it is wrong, why didn't Dick Vaughn have
Why
his
didn't the
pitchfork
19
out?
look? Wait a minute. Why didn't the 1946 Red Sox beat the Cardinals and win the World Series that year? How can you go back? What difference does it make?
Hillary Clinton,
They
there
lost.
she is right there. What difference does it make
That-
at this
right.
point?
It's 25 or 30 years ago.
It makes a difference because history results from events. We either recognize what we did wrong and say we won't do it again,
We've
or
done it
we have to
wrong
admit it's
over
hypocrisy.
and over and
It's
over.
hypocrisy to only go after Trump.
But he's the president currently.
Yes.
How you going to go after? How you going to go after George Bush?
Well, why did you have to then answer why you were not against George Bush, why you were not against Obama, why you were not against other situations?
Because, first of all, let me tell you, there's a great prayer. It's called the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Give me the courage to change the things that I can. And please, God, give me the wisdom to know the difference. There's nothing I can do about Obama presidency because he's no longer the president.
I admit that you should have been against them.
And you got presidents going back years
Will you admit you were wrong?
who have made mistakes, who have cost this country dearly.
Mistake? Oh, an invasion of a country. Don't just slough it off as a mistake. That was a criminal activity to lie about WMD. That wasn't just made a mistake. Oh, my mistake. You can't do that.
What most of those situations were fabrications to try to convince people that what they did was the right thing to do when it really wasn't.
Criminal. Criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal.
Yeah. I did in my life one time. I studied psychiatry. My father used to tell me, son, you're a dangerous person. I'd say, Dad. He'd say, I'm going to tell you why. He says, you studied law, you studied psychiatry, studied negotiations, you ran your radio stations, you were a news person, you were a sports guy, you were involved in politics, you were involved in business. You know a little bit about a lot of things, and that makes you very, very dangerous. Now, having said that, I studied with a genius. His name was Dr. Morris Borenstein, who was chief of psychiatry at Mercy Hospital in Springfield at one time. And Morris and I had some spirited conversations. And one of the things that I learned is not much you can do about something that's been done 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You can talk about it. You can anguish about it, but you can't change it, and you can't do anything about it. You know, we can't go back and say to President Bush, don't go, don't start the war, because he's already done it. And we're still paying the price for that, by the way. And so maybe it's as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little mellower, and I look back and say, well, I can't disagree with you that we made terrible mistakes. And to your point, they weren't mistakes, they were criminal. And then we covered them up by lying about them and making them look like they were a great idea. And I'm always reminded of what was the president landed his plane on the deck of a carrier and said, job well done or something.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, yeah. And we murdered Hussein, you know, almost in the public square. And now what do we got? So 20 some odd years later, we're still in Iraq, although they've told us to get out. They told us, get out of here, we don't need you.
So you want Trump impeached on the two. On
No,
the
I
two
don't. I'm saying all I want is the information on which to make the decision to impeach him or not impeach him.
And if I thought that the people who were calling for that really wanted a fair process, that would be one thing.
Well, I can't disagree with your position that it's very politically motivated. No question about it. Got it. But at the same time, we have people who have direct knowledge, and you can call them bums and snakes and anything you want, and you can send out a tweet, and you can call them, fake names and make fun of them, like's being done. But the fact is, they're under oath. You hope they don't lie and tell the truth. If they do, they're perjurers. But at least you'd have somebody who was in the room when the phone call was made, who heard the call, or who was directed by the President of the United States to, in fact, hold up the money until the guy does what I want. Because until you know that, all you've got is some emails, some handwritten notes from two people who are going to jail. You got Rudy Giuliani, who, you know, is a loose cannon on the deck, to say the least. And they're going to go into a session to change the President of the United States. I think that's a big, big, big situation. And that before you do that, we ought to get as much information as we can, whether it's a snake that testifies, or a cobra, or an alligator, or anybody else. If they were there and have knowledge, we should be able to have them come in and testify. Now, if they can't, and that means then both, it's just as political for those on the other side who say, nope, no one's going to testify. We're just going to have a quick trial. It's going to be over. No, I'm not going to do that. We don't need any more information. And so everybody plays politics. One of our problems is our country and our government is so polarized and so torn apart that you wonder if they'll ever get anything accomplished, if they even can. And which I feel, sadly, we don't have any statesmen anymore. We don't have any people who are there because they want to help the American people. We have people who are there, and the only thing they're there for is to make sure they win their re-election campaign. And they do not do anything that's going to get their constituents upset with them.
When did we have statesmen?
Well, I don't know. I was going to bring up some names, but I'm sure you'll find something wrong with, you know, people like Daniel Webster and Patrick Henry and Hamilton and Jefferson and people like that who, and the Adamses from Quincy, Mass. I
tend to think like Jefferson, big guy in my book. Madison, great man.
Yep.
Patrick Henry,
Yep.
who opposed the Constitution, and I probably would have been pro, to tell you where I'm coming from, Articles of Confederation. He's a great man, but it started to go awry when we had warmongers like Henry Clay. Henry Clay was one of the people who got us into World War II, but he was fairly honest about it. He said, okay, all you settlers, all we have to do is march north and we can steal Canada. It was crummy. It was still, I mean,
Yeah.
but at least he was honest about it.
Yeah.
Calhoun, slaver. Big thing was to fight to keep slavery. Wasn't a bad guy on anything else, but just wanted, you know, his
Yeah.
big thing was keep the slaves. He's considered, and I read his biography, impressive man, but that was all he's wanted. Has some blame for the Civil War.
Well, we can go back even. I think I personally thought that Harry Truman, who was the last guy you'd ever see president, ended up president because the the president died, and he was the vice president. And yet, he was a plain guy that was as honest as that, I think maybe too honest in some cases.
Wait a minute now. You heard about the Prendergast machine in Kansas City?
Yeah.
He was part of that.
Oh,
it was
good.
a criminal political organization. They gave him his start. Now, how tainted he was, I don't know. But, I mean, if you're going to make Trump, and now we're going back, of course, to the past, which I'm okay with. I want you to do that because I like to,
But my point
a
is
person who does,
that we had over the years. I mean, there was a senator from Illinois, who was huge. I'm trying to think of his name.
not the guy who ran for president, who died like Stevenson.
No. He was because a very dear friend of mine wanted to meet him, and I set the meeting up for him through Senator Kennedy, that he could meet this. He was a giant in the Senate. I can't think of his name.
Dirksen.
Everett Dirksen. That's
Everett
him.
Dirksen.
Senator Dirksen. And I had a great friend from Philadelphia, as it happens. His name was Joe Furco, and he was a magistrate in Philadelphia. And he just thought that Senator Dirksen was above all. And we were going to Washington when President Kennedy was in the White House on a situation. I had to set up a meeting for them. And he said, is there any chance I would love to get into the Senate and get a chance to just meet Senator Dirksen? So I was with Ted Kennedy, and I said, Senator, can you? Oh, no problem. He said, where is he? So he takes my friend, brings him right in, and brings him over to introduce him to Everett Dirksen. My friend thought he died and went to heaven. Okay? He had his picture taken with Senator Dirksen. And there are names like that. I mean, I'll tell you a thing I thought was unbelievable, was that when John Kennedy was killed and Lyndon Johnson became president, from Texas, he was able to go to Strom Thurmond and the old Dixiecrats, is what they call them, and got them to change their mind and vote to end segregation and vote for the Anti-Discrimination Act of 1963 and got it passed. Okay, and that was his tribute to John Kennedy.
With, by the way, more Republicans voting for that bill.
Oh yeah,
than Democrats.
Yeah, but Johnson got it through, and the bottom line is that so there's a point in time where we had a president who really did something. I don't know that it ever really took hold, and as we sit with the challenges of racism now. But the fact still is that along the way, there were some pretty good guys who did some things for America that mattered.
Okay, your point isn't bad, and I hate to hear me agree with you, of course. But the thing is, so somebody gives blood that saves the life of one of the great men of history, and then murders his mother. What do we say about him? I mean, this is basically...
Guy was a murderer.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say about him.
Yeah, well, but he's also a great humanitarian, too. So how do you judge it?
Well, look. Let me give you two examples. We've got state troopers who are out there patrolling the highway, P&S, Protect and Serve,
Yeah.
Massachusetts State Police,
Yeah.
who got their hands on the cookie jars up to here.
It might have saved a few lives.
I mean, I saw something the other day. It was more, they listed the top 100 wage earners in the Commonwealth. There's 7 state troopers, all right, 2 lieutenants, a sergeant, and 4 troopers who earned in excess of $250,000. Now look, do you know how many hours they would have had to work to earn that kind of money? Okay? Now look, we're not stupid.
Yeah.
You got a sergeant made $310,000, a Massachusetts state trooper sergeant. What did he do? Okay? We had a lieutenant that made 310,000. I'm looking at the list and I went, OMG. You know, how, and nobody, like the governor or the legislature, and I had one of them here the other day. I said, that didn't bother you when you saw the top 100 wage earners? And the University of Massachusetts has 17 vice presidents that all earned in excess of $500,000, and you can't get a kid into college because they can't afford to go? Okay, $500,000 for a vice president at the University of Massachusetts? What does he do? All right, and the rep looks at me and says, yeah, that's terrible. Well, what are you going to do about it? Well, you know, we ought to, you know, you're right, we should take a look at that list. Really? There's 6, you haven't picked up the phone and called the head of the state police and say, what's going on? I want a breakdown of his hours. I want to know what he did to earn $310,000.
That's not his committee. His committee is probably
Transportation.
transportation.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not the public safety.
No,
Well,
oversight.
if I
would-
were in public
would have to
safety,
be
I'd
that.
be all over that.
There'd be oversight. There'd be House oversight. Okay, but the point I'm making is
That's right, and you're right.
nobody cares
That,
except the poor people who are making 30, 40,000 a year who are paying the bills.
but those poor people, their rep is probably the type of guy you were talking to. They think he's great. They think all the other are bums. It ain't changing.
No. I started to really get impressed at the beginning with Tom Steyer. Figuring, here's a guy that's a millionaire, you know, geez, maybe he's clean as a whistle. And then he comes out and he says, he's going to have term limits. And I started to laugh. Now listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but how do you think you're going to get 435 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate to vote themselves out of office? How do you think you're going to get that accomplished? How do you think you're going to get, so 435, you need what, 236? 236 members of the House to vote yes, I'm going to be out of office, okay? And then you're going to get 51 senators who love what they're doing, who are living off the fat of the land, who have a great job, making all kinds of money, and their wives are all working for the government,
Yeah.
and their kids are all working. And so how are you going to get them to say, oh, you're right, we have to have term limits, vote me out. I'll sign the bill right now. Can't wait so I can get kicked out of office. What?
So you don't think that?
I'm for term limits. Okay?
I know that,
But the
so
point is
do
you can't get it.
Do you think Tom is being a little bit hypocritical here? Because either he is an idiot, or he knows this is a stupid
No,
suggestion.
what he's doing is like, and I used to be in these games. I used to advise these fellas. I know what he's doing. He's telling people things they want to hear.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
most Americans believe we should have term limits. All right? So he's saying things that people want to hear so he can get a buck from. He only wants $1. Send him $1. So that's how he makes on the debates. He gets all these people to give him a buck, and he has enough contributors to get on the debate.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shine on the debates. And so the other guy, now we have Mike Bloomberg, who has come out, and he's never taken a dime from anybody when he's run for office. Never. Which is wonderful. Good for you, Mike.
Well, if I could buy the presidency, I wouldn't either.
So Mike wants to run. He did a great job as mayor of New York, according to him. And he wants to be the nominee of the party. And so I'm saying, well, you know, maybe, just maybe, he's the kind of a guy that could beat Trump. And get him the heck out of office. Because he's not going to get impeached. And this is all going to go away. By Valentine's Day, we'll be worried about making sure we get roses for our wife. We won't be worried about Trump. And so it'll continue, and he'll make up funny names for people and, you know, and ridicule people as he's done. and continue along the way. And so the bottom line is that we muddle forward to November when we have an election. And somewhere along the way, one of the, I guess there's 6 left now that are on the stage, one of the 6, or maybe one of the 7, because Bloomberg is viable, one of them is going to be the nominee of the party. The one thing that I've looked at, and I go back to when Harris was on there, when there was 12 of them. You know, interestingly, whoever gets that nomination, in reality, as a Democrat, he or she now has 12 or 13 people that he can call on to build his team around. Now, a lot of times they won't do that. I'm saying, why not? Why not get Harris? Why not get Klobuchar? Why not get this kid Yang, or Yank, whatever his name is, and get some of these people and let them be the head of department of such and such. Let them get involved in the government. Let them be on a board somewhere, because they all have a lot to contribute.
What do you mean they contribute? You know, they have nothing to contribute. They're just people who get up in front of you. Think Biden has nothing to contribute. He's a grifter.
Let me tell you about Biden. If there's nothing else, he certainly has served in the House and the Senate for many, many years and served as vice president. He has people that he knows. He has people in other countries where that he already has met and worked with, that he may be able to rebuild the coalition that America once had with our allies.
Well, who wants the coalition? I want everybody home. I don't want the coalition. And Biden, biggest achievement, name his biggest achievement ever.
Goes to church every Sunday.
In the immortal words of the prosecutor, I rest mine case. Anyway, they have one candidate who they're not going to nominate. She basically eliminated Harris, and she slapped around that stuffed shirt Buttigieg.
Yeah.
And they're not going to nominate her because they don't want anybody to change. And when you say,
you talking Amy Klobuchar?
Not Amy Klobuchar. Gabbard is the only one who is really different. Tulsi Gabbard is the only one who's really different. They won't want her. They're not going to let her in.
They got rid of her already.
She's still running. She just is not in the debate. And there's more to that than you know. But so Biden is for doing everything still the same. That's basically what he's for. Having his family make money and smiling, keeping his plugs working.
Richard, that's the United States of America. And that starts with, and you want to talk about Trump? You want to talk about people having their family involved making money? Let me tell you,
ain't changing.
That's the American way.
Right, and that's sad.
And that's what they wanted. I just said that to you. That's why
I'm agreeing with you.
They'll never vote for term limits.
What's the problem with you? You can't take yes for an answer?
No, they don't. Listen, that's why you'll never have term limits.
Of course.
They love it.
So that's
I'm jealous. I wish I was there.
It's a system that has to die.
Well, I agree with you.
It's not going to change.
No, it's not. Not as long as they're in. And not as long as we have people who serve in the House of Representatives for 28 years and can't wait to get reelected. And nobody runs against them. And even if somebody does, they've got so much money put away that they just, look, let me tell you something I told a candidate 3 or 4 years ago. I was asked to give some advice to a person deciding to run. And I said, you really want that job? Yeah, I really. Good. You don't win elections, you buy them. They said, what? I said, how much money do you have? Well, what do you mean? I mean, how much money do you have? Oh, I probably got 10 or 15 grand. Can't win. And they looked at me. I says, you don't win elections, you buy them. Well, what do you mean by that? You need to spend a lot of money in marketing, advertising, promotions, signs, buying people, friendships, relationships, donations. You have to buy your way and you can win that Senate seat. But if you don't have a couple of $100,000 to spend in this district, it was when Steve Brewer wasn't going to run again, and there was somebody who called me up and wanted to run, and they thought I was crazy. I said, you don't. I said, I'm telling you, you don't win elections, you buy them. You buy them. And we see that in our national political races.
Of course, of course.
I mean, Bernie Sanders, who's a flyweight, okay? I know the guy from Vermont. He's been in politics for 30 years, and he's never got one thing. The only thing he ever got voted was he got a street in Burlington blocked off from automobiles, like they did in downtown Boston when he was mayor of Burlington, okay?
Well, that's more than Biden's done.
Now, let me tell you, yeah, it's true. Now, Biden goes to church. Now, let me tell you, the bottom line is that what happens is you buy the damn election. And if you're not willing to understand that and have the money to do it, then don't get in, because you'll get hammered.
Well, like I say, the system has to die.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to be reformed.
No.
Nothing.
We have to have campaign finance reform. There's so many things that we would have to get done. And the guys in and the gals in won't vote for it. And so in order to get this accomplished, you'd have to make so many changes in the way we run our country. And they're not stupid. They know if they ever vote for those things, they're gone.
Of course.
And they're not going to do it.
But,
Look, they just got a big raise on December 31st. Nobody knows about it. I know, because they changed the rules 12 years ago. Because they used to have to vote every year, and they get clobbered.
They changed the rules on 401ks that hurt us.
Yeah, so now they put the thing in so that on midnight, December 31st, if they don't vote not to take the money, they get a 3% raise. Automatic.
Well, you know what's happening with the TCI in Massachusetts, the gas tax that's going up. We don't have to vote for that.
I told them a long time ago, you want to come up with a plan that'll make a fortune, and you can fix every road in the Commonwealth.
I know.
Sell the bridge abutments.
I
okay?
I agree.
And I'll go do it for them. I'll call Herbie Chambers and Dinky Dunky, and they'll buy those things in a heartbeat. You know?
And you only want a new car and a jelly donut.
No, I want 80 grand like the rest of them are getting. That's all. Anyway, Richard, it's been a terrific hour. I've enjoyed this tremendously.
It has. Well,
I don't know if we've accomplished anything.
You're too shy. If you weren't such a shrinking violet, I'd enjoy it.
No, but I mean, I don't know that we really accomplish anything in our conversations. But I know that you believe everything you say, and I sure as heck believe everything I say. And one of the things that makes it so unique is that we love each other and we get along. And I'm always reminded of the time I lived up in New Hampshire, in Dover, New Hampshire. And there was a place called the Barn Tavern that the elite met to eat every night. That's what I said. I used to call it. Remember Duffy's Tavern on the radio? Where the elite met to eat?
I'm a little too, that's one thing I'm too young for.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I used to call it where the elite met to eat every night. And we had a few drinks. We all became friends, you know. And it was always political. And there was a wonderful lady, her name was Jerry. She was a former mayor of Dover who was appointed to the cabinet by John Sununu. And she was a big Republican. And she and I used to sit, and we really got along. And we had conversations about Kennedy and back and forth. And people couldn't believe that we really liked each other and respected each other. And they asked me, how can you do that? The two of you are so. I said, because I respect her. Because she believes what she believes. And she respects me because I believe what I believe. And we can agree to disagree and we can walk away and hug. And I said, and that's so important. And I said, and that's what's really missing in Washington. They can't walk away and hug. You know, and so there we are. We've done an hour. It's been delightful.
It has been delightful.
And the next time we get together, we will know whether we have an ex-president and we have a new president, or we have the same one.
We will. Do you think they'll get it done by mid-February?
Yeah. Oh, it'll be over quick.
Well, of course, because they all don't want to be out on the campaign
Oh,
trail.
don't forget, they got a vacation coming up. They got that February vacation. That's important.
Yeah.
And they got to get back in the district.
Oh yeah, and then
Wine and dine the gang.
Bernie and who's the Warren and Klobuchar, they all
Yeah.
got to get out on that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they got to go
campaign trail,
vote. Yeah, they're going to be. All right. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.